fairly close idea to how we believe the satellites are deployed. At a lower altitude, when the satellites are raising their orbits, the solar panels are extended. If you've got any thoughts to their orbits using individual studs, rather than these studs being attached by making a hole in the tank, Elon replied to a stud welding example video saying that this is pretty much how the studs are to be attached. The benefit of this is that there are no adhesive new ways to stick the tiles on. The fact that these are mounted mechanically means that they can be spacing launch site. We were watching now, just quickly, a huge thank you to my amazing patrons here. You are the common bulkhead between the lower liquid oxygen tank and the upper liquid methane tank was sleeved with these rings. We also caught a few glimpses of a Raptor engine here out and about, looking very incredible week with the Shortly after, of course, we had the big move between coverage from Mission 2, which is live stream here, watching the SN4 roll past early morning, and then Boca Chica Gal's footage here, watching the beast haul its way out through the SN4 was picked up and lifted up onto the test stand, which had been undergoing massive amounts of work and disappearing into a number of the 10 structures. Many of us are thinking that these are already segments, not only as always, Boca Chica Gal has been incredible documenting as well. We were predicting that these videos are dropping daily, and I'm sure you'll all agree as soon as the SN4 rolled out for testing. The blue roll-lift vehicles arrived early in the week as well, hours after the move down to launch site for the SN5, so that was always exciting to see. Prior to the move, though, the crew at the launch site just picked up and moved the stacking segment of the old SN3 out of the way, out near the orbital launch pad area. Still a little unsure what the reason is, certainly be occurring over the next day or two from when. If you've got any thoughts on that, please do let us know in the comments. Also spotted were the thermal protection tiles appearing not only on the top half of the main tank structure, but also two more blocks of them on the skirt section under the bottom bulkhead. We assume that they'll be testing the methods of fastening to ensure that they easily survive the vibrations in a test flight. As Elon mentioned in this tweet, the tiles are mechanically attached to steel studs. Rather than these studs being attached by making a hole in the tank, Elon replied to a stud welding example video saying that this is pretty much how the studs are to be attached. The benefit of this is that there are no adhesives needed to stick the tiles on. The fact that these are mounted mechanically means that there can be spacing applied to limit transfer of heat from the tiles to the stainless steel body underneath. It's going to be interesting to see how these tiles interlock as the design evolves. Now, before the move of the SN4 to the launch site, we were watching the SN5 build continue to evolve. The common bulkhead between the lower liquid oxygen tank and the upper liquid methane tank was sleeved with these rings. We also caught a few glimpses of a Raptor engine here out and about, looking very clean as well. Shortly after, of course, we had the big move between coverage from Lab Padre's live stream here, watching the SN4 roll past early morning, and there's the Boca Chica Gal's footage here, watching the beast haul its way out through the fog. This again was all very spectacular to watch, with the Starhopper there at the front gate as always. Each time we see one of these massive Starship tanks come rolling into the launch site, the excitement grows with the entire community. The SN4 was picked up and lifted up onto the test stand, which had been undergoing massive amounts of work right through the week as well. This structure is looking quite evolved from when the SN3 was being tested. As always, Boca Chica Gal has been incredible documenting everything in detail. These videos are dropping daily, and I'm sure you'll all agree it means a great deal to the entire community. Thank you, Mary, for everything you're doing. We all appreciate it. Mere hours we see one of these down to launch Starship tanks come rolling into the launch site to take place grows in the high bay. We're wondering if the SN4 was picked up and lifted up onto the test stand, which had been undergoing massive amounts of begins testing, which certainly looks like that could be the case. Pressure testing could certainly be occurring over the next day or two from when this video goes live, based on some current best guesses. Now, it's actually been a while since I've talked about Crew Dragon and how big of a deal this upcoming mission is going to be. We're now just a little more than 4 weeks away from the proposed launch date, which is May 27th. This clip, shared by both NASA and SpaceX a week ago, is one that is especially inspiring. Here, in these shots, we see the incredible history at Kennedy Space Center. These same doors and this walkway are the same witnessed before I was even born for the Apollo missions. Throughout the decades of missions throughout the space shuttle era, right up to that very last space shuttle mission, this was the site we'd see. Sadly, of course, the very last crewed flight from America with STS-135 landed for the final time in July of 2011. Ever since then, the Soyuz has been the only launch vehicle to send astronauts to the International Space Station. Almost 9 years, which frankly has made it seem that the industry has regressed rather than advanced, as most people assumed it would over the last 50 years. Now, since then, of course, NASA's Commercial Crew Program has had SpaceX's Crew Dragon being developed alongside Boeing's Starliner. After a long period of development and a number of delays, we are now only weeks away from that first crewed flight from America since 2011. This is a big deal, and what is just as important in my mind is that this for the first time is a privately funded space company, SpaceX, providing the vehicle to take astronauts Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley on the Crew Dragon with SpaceX's Demo-2 mission. This is going to be the highlight of the year, and based on the coverage of Crew Dragon's unmanned Demo-1 mission in May last year, this is going to be quite the spectacle. Now, if you would like to know more about the Crew Dragon, I've got a video here that goes deeper into that vessel while talking over the Demo-1 mission itself. While you're here, of course, please do consider subscribing. There is loads more news coming with Starlink and Starship development as well, and I'd love to share all that with you. The Demo-2 mission will also be quite the nail-biter, I'm sure, for SpaceX. This is the first flight with humans on board a SpaceX vehicle. No doubt about it, we'll all be glued to the live stream watching every moment of this mission. Now, NASA will actually be running a number of news conferences on the 1st of May on NASA TV, which we'll all be certainly watching. Gwen Shotwell, who is of course SpaceX's Chief Operating Officer, will be involved in the first conference, so that will be insightful, I'm sure. Bob and Doug will actually be doing remote interviews as well, I believe, so that's all coming up very soon. We of course had another amazing Starlink flight this week. Now, this launch brings SpaceX up to 420 operational Starlink satellites. We'll talk more about that in a moment, but real quick, this video is sponsored by Brilliant, who have been huge supporters of my channel. In these current times, you may be on the lookout for online math and science resources, and whether you're a student looking to get ahead, a professional brushing up on new skills, or someone who just wants to use this time to understand the world better, you should check out the awesome content with Brilliant. Each time I come back, there is something amazing to learn more about. In particular, I really love this introduction to neural networks, getting this deeper understanding by interactively exploring how these 50 example neurons can classify handwritten digits just blows my mind. And what I really love about the learning process with Brilliant is that you set a goal to improve yourself, and then you work at that goal a little more every day. If you're naturally curious and you want to build up problem-solving skills, or you need to develop confidence in your analytical abilities, then get Brilliant Premium to learn something new. Brilliant's thought-provoking math, science and computer science content helps guide you to mastery by taking complex concepts and then just breaking them up into bite-sized, understandable chunks. You'll start by having fun with their inter-explorations, and over time you'll be amazed at what you can accomplish. Thank you very much to Brilliant for their support in this channel, and if you would like to help support me and would like to give it a try, go to brilliant.org/MarcusHouse. The first 200 people will get 20% off the first year of Brilliant Premium. The link is in the description below. So yes, on Wednesday, SpaceX launched 60 more satellites to add to the network. This Starlink mission brings SpaceX's total number of Starlink satellites launched to 422, including the initial 2 test satellites. Only around 412 of those are active as far as we know. A few have been deorbited, and we believe that there are a few dead in orbit as well. Regardless, that is astounding progress, and these Starlink launches are only going to ramp up faster as we get close to a live service date. Interestingly, the launch date had actually been pushed forwards a day earlier than announced, which was quite unusual, launching on the 22nd instead of the 23rd. Before diving into the mission details though, I just wanted to start off by sharing this article published by NASA Spaceflight here on April 21st. Elon specifically replied to this article as well, and there are some interesting reasons why this flight of Starlink happens to be quite an interesting milestone. This Starlink launch makes SpaceX's Falcon 9 the most flown, currently operational rocket in America, and it's just surpassed the total launches made by the Atlas V. Now, this is no small thing because the Atlas V has had a huge head start, flying for the first time in August 2002. In comparison, the first Falcon 9 flight was launched in June of 2010, so a head start there of 8 years. This flight of Starlink makes it SpaceX's 84th flight, with the Atlas V having launched its 83rd mission last month. So as this article states, well, this is the changing of the guard. In under 10 years, years, SpaceX has become the front runner, which is an astounding achievement when you really think about the extra abilities that the Falcon 9 has, such as the large percentage of reusability and groundbreaking technology allowing scenes like this to play out as if it's the most normal thing in the world. Keep in mind, of course, that SpaceX is still the only rocket development company that has achieved reusability on an orbital class booster. I think it's also worth noting that in the early days of the Falcon 9 flight development, customers and launches were accumulated really very slowly. As I said, the first launch was in 2010, but by July of 2014, 4 years later, SpaceX and groundbreaking technology allowing scenes like this to play out, right? As by the most normal thing in the world. SpaceX had doubled that with 20 flights. Fast forward a little more than 5 years to where we are now, and wow, 84 launches total at this stage. I think it's also worth noting that in the early days of the Falcon 9 flight development, Starlink launches required to build out the world's really very advanced broadband internet system. We're looking at a Falcon 9 launch every few weeks just for this project alone. There are many non-Starlink flights to be launched on the Falcon 9 throughout the year as well. As we've already talked about, the massive Crew Dragon mission is just weeks away, and as far as I can see, currently over 15 non-Starlink launches in 2020. Now, obviously that's very rough as delays for missions creep in all the time, so it's probably not going to be quite that many, but before we know it, the Falcon 9 will pass that 100th flight and will be very broadband internet system. If you want to keep up to date at a Falcon 9 launch, the mission itself was another textbook flight with the main booster and the fairings once again reused. The fairing was previously flown on the Amos 17 mission in August last year. The fairing recovery ships GoMiss Tree and GoMiss Chief were not even attempting to catch the fairings directly this time due to ongoing upgrades with the ships and software. Instead, the plan was to fish them directly out of the water. They were successful in that retrieval, and we saw those arrive back just recently. The Falcon 9 booster previously launched Crew Dragon's Demo-1 and RadarSat missions from 2019, and also the Starlink 3 mission at the end of January this year. Now, interestingly, in the live stream, it was announced that the engine shutdown issue that occurred with the last Starlink mission was an issue relating to cleaning fluid that became trapped inside a sensor dead leg or an area where it couldn't flow, and that then ignited, causing the problem. Now, I would really like someone to explain to me exactly what a dead leg is, because I must admit my knowledge of dead legs is quite limited. If you know more about that, please do let us know in the comments. So yes, another beautiful drone ship landing by the booster as well. We'll hopefully see this booster designated B1051 flying a 5th mission soon in the future. We did also get another glimpse in 60 satellites were released floating gently away, which I'm assuming will be reserved for SpaceX employees and close family, but then a public beta should open up in around 6 months or so at high latitude. So this is quite exciting. I'm not sure what I need to do to get in on a beta test in Tasmania. Help get me into a testing process, please do get in touch. That is certainly not the case. This animation here gives us a fairly close idea to how we believe the satellites are deployed. At a lower altitude, when the satellites are raising their orbits, the solar panels are extended in a low drag configuration like this. This obviously makes them very reflective, being parallel to the ground. They're also at a low altitude, around 300 kilometers, so much closer to the observers. They then raise their orbits using individual ion thrusters, which places them in an operational circular orbit around 550 kilometers in altitude. From here, the solar panel orientation is set completely differently, extending radially out side on to the orbit direction to reduce drag as much as possible. So yes, the reflectivity of the satellites at this point is vastly different to when they are orbit raising. On top of all this, of course, SpaceX are experimenting with new ways to further limit any light pollution. Just the other day, Elon tweeted here saying that SpaceX are taking some key steps to reduce satellite brightness. So yes, we're looking forward to seeing how these developments progress. Launch 9, depending on how we're counting here, is another 2 or 3 Starlink missions away. Now, just quickly, a huge thank you to my amazing patrons. So yes, the reflectivity of the satellites is this dream of mine. They're creating this content for hobby into something much more significant. If you like what I do and you would like to join our awesome patrons here, head to patreon.com/marcus. You can interact with me more directly by the included reduced Discord. So yes, we're looking forward to seeing how we're counting here. Launch 9, depending on how we're counting here. Other incredible people. Now, a few interesting videos I think are well worth you watching if you really really love these topics. First of all, Felix here from What About It has a great interview with Robert Zubrin talking all sorts of great Mars and Starship topics. You can check that out in the video description. Also, a super interesting interview with Tim Dodd and Peter Beck from Rocket Lab the other week on the future of Electron. All sorts of possibilities there with small satellite research and proof the material for these videos. If you're interested in these topics and would like to be a part of this, follow me on Twitter and please do get in touch. In the title in the bottom left today we have my video last week talking about the SN4 developments of the week and also presenting this amazing Pocket Rocket app for iOS. So yes, check that out. In the top right is my latest video, and in the bottom right, content that YouTube has selected from my channel just for you. Thank you everyone for watching, and we'll see you all in the next video.
A tecnologia por trás. A culpa pela mudança de cor ou